The number one mistake that people are making in life today, and it's just so unbelievably obvious, is they're living life in the middle. 99.9% of the people that watch or listen to this content are living in the middle. They're hedging and making excuses and justifying why they are not 100% happy. It's because, like every other person out there besides a few select people, they are living in this middle ground. And I just say the middle. And when I think about how you win in business, in entrepreneurship, but most of all in life, it's by understanding the macro and micro opportunities and executions. If you really understand how to break through, how to be in that zone, how to really, really, really win the game, it comes down to a strategy that looks like this. Are you balancing your ego with your humility? Are you balancing your ego with your humility? Do you equally think that you're the greatest of all time and you can do it, and that also you're a piece of shit and nobody cares when you're gone? I like reading my negative comments way more than my positive ones. I mean it. And I don't think they're trolls and haters. I really don't. I think that they've consumed me in a context, and I need to be thoughtful about what they're thinking. Now, I equally believe that if you're taking time to consume other people's content on the internet, and then you have the energy to leave terrible comments, you're in a sad place yourself. So usually when I read like, Gary Vee, you're a snake oil salesman, my first default is, okay, why did they interpret this content this way? But even before I go there, even before that, my first default is like, I feel bad for that person. I tell everybody that I meet along the way that I think is authentic, put your 2 fingers in your ears, execute in perpetuity, and let the chips fall. That's the only way you'll ever be able to achieve something remarkable, because when you are doing anything interesting or game-changing or like different, I've only been booed my whole life. Every single thing I've done, basically from school to professionally. I mean, I don't know if I've ever taken more heat for not opening a second liquor store with my dad. Like the entire liquor industry, which was my life, right? My dad's liquor industry in New Jersey was my life. Every one of those people ridiculed the shit out of me for selling liquor on the computer. You're pouring all that money and selling liquor on the computer? You should open a second liquor store, right? So like, I think there's certain people, entrepreneurs, givers, politicians, there's millions of different kinds of teachers. There's certain people who are just capable of doing that. And I think the reason I talk a lot about it is my hope is if this one answer can let them hear one less voice, that's moving the needle. Because you're either on offense or you're on defense. And dwelling about other people's opinions of how you live your life is defense. I don't think most people are actually judging themselves either. I think they're taking the voices of others to allow themselves to be judged. People are like, Gary, I hear you, but what if they're like, I get it, don't listen to others, but what if your own voice, the one in your own head is telling you you suck shit, or this, that, and the other thing? I'm like, you've taken on the voice of someone else. I really believe that. And for some reason, through self-esteem, serendipity, and many other things, I consciously in 3rd grade decided to not try in school. Not because I was the normal 3rd grader, because I definitely wasn't. It was because I was like, this has nothing to do with my life. And I'm gonna start working on my actual skill. And I'm willing to deal with the judgment of my teachers. Do you know how not fun it is to grow up your whole life and have all your friends' parents think you're a loser? Because the only framework in society at that time is your school grades. Do you know how many people here literally drive cars to impress people that they hate? People literally going in debt or getting further from leaving the job they don't like to do something that will make them happy because they have to buy a certain car that has a logo that impresses people that they despise. Do you understand how up that is? Do you know how many people here live in homes where they don't use more than half the rooms in the house? Like, we are so fundamentally in a vortex that makes no sense that I am unbelievably passionate understanding how much money you make and what you can do to get off of it. But the problem is, again, people are doing so many things to keep up with the Joneses, to make it look like they're successful, to appease their parents, and a million other things that have nothing to do with themselves. And we need to change that game. I love when people are like, Gary Vee, like the comments are just so fun. Gary Vee, like, you suck, bro. You repeat the same shit. I'm like, cause it's right, face. The reason I keep repeating it, the reason I believe in it is because I know for so many of you, even though you've seen it 87 times, this moment in real life at this time might be the time it happens. That's how it actually works. This is a game of perspective. Either you understand what's happening or not. Do you know how many people have defaulted into thinking this is a terrible time? My friends, this is the greatest time to be a human being in the history of Earth. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. This is like math. This is not my opinion. This is what's going on with genocide and health, life expectancy. Like, this is the best. Like, for all the shit we have with racism and sexism and a lot of terror, we got plenty of shit. Meanwhile, they had the Black Plague. Meanwhile, they had World War II. Meanwhile, they had real shit. And we sit around and complain about the dumbest shit in the world. People complain about like getting the wrong milk in their coffee from a barista. Or that your Wi-Fi is a little slower than normal. Like you're upset. You can feel the speed is a little lower. Or you got a few less likes than you're usually getting on a post. Like the stuff that we actually spend time on is fascinating. To me, it is a complete and utter lack of perspective. From 2007 to 2011, when nobody knew who the fuck I was, and Twitter was the platform of the day, I spent every day replying to every single tweet that made a mention of me, and used to go to sleep at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning until I completely got to everybody, and that's how I built my foundation. People want the glitz and the glamour and the caviar, but they're not willing to eat the shit. Period. If you don't understand how this actually plays out, there is no shortcut. There's no hack, there's no tip, there's just the work. I'm obsessed with perspective. Like, I genuinely believe you find what you're looking for. If you are looking for bad right now, it's a piece of cake. If you're looking for good right now, it's a piece of cake. I'm just asking you, what the fuck are you looking for? Like, please, it's just a very simple question. Like, and by the way, I hate, in a lot of ways, I hate the way I talk because it's super simple. And I'm sitting right now thinking about the kid who's listening to this, and she or he is in her room right now, earpods in, listening to this, and they're miserable because their dad's an alcoholic or their mom's this, or like real shit, you know, like tough stuff. And they're like, ugh, it's so, like, f you. It's not that simple. Yet it is. Like, you know, one thing I don't do well is talk about my problems, which manifests in many ways. It manifests in being taken for granted in my real life and in my collective life, my outward life. And I got problems. I got lots of problems. Real ones. I grew up with lots of this stuff. Like, lots and lots of stuff. I just am not capable of going into it. Like, I don't get going. Like, I can't get there. And so one of the things that I try to remind kids, I'm like, take me out of the equation. Like, don't even use me when I'm saying these things. If you know of one person that has ever gotten to a happy place that dealt with your circumstance, there is a blueprint. The end. There have been people, Night Train Lane, legendary football player, was thrown in a dumpster the second he was born. Went on to be one of the great football players of all time, dated every actress in the game, was Red Fox's bodyguard, iconic gentleman. Dumpster. Like, there's all sorts of circumstances. Tell us about failure and why it's important to fail. I love it. Yeah, because you mentioned that you love it. I love it. I like micro failure. I hate macro failure. Like, death of your business is bad. But to me, you know what's funny? I'll use a boxing analogy. My favorite boxing, I watch a lot of boxing. I think boxing is a very interesting, and I'm super into mixed martial arts, but I grew up on boxing. I understand it better. And I like watching it because there's so many things that happen in boxing. First of all, what I love about boxing is there's nowhere to hide. You know, like, it's super interesting, right? There's nowhere to hide. Number two, there's a scenario in boxing that I love the most. For some reason, there's nothing more interesting to me than watching somebody get knocked down in the first round and then go on to win the fight easily. It's an interesting psyche, right? And I like that, and this is what I'm thinking about it, which is like, here's what's bad in boxing and in business. Going into a fight, getting knocked the fuck out in the first round and losing the match. Bad. Getting knocked down and then having the adversity to readjust to what you got caught on and navigating it to easily win a fight is remarkable. That's how I think about entrepreneurship. The reason so many people struggle with entrepreneurship is you have micro failures almost daily, and they're very in your face. You can't hide. And I like that. I like failure because I think I deserve it. I hate when people don't respect the game. When I fail, it means I f***ed up. And I like that because I think people get audacious. My number one thing that I hate about capitalism is that people use it and they love it and they're big capitalists and they love open market and competition and all that, and then they become 73 and they try to use all their money to protect their money. They're not willing to let a young lion eat them the way they ate somebody else. I hate when they try to manipulate it. That's what I love about sports. What I love about sports is when you're 36 and you were once the best player in the league, but now you're getting a little bit older and your body breaks down, you are forced to retire. The one thing that entrepreneurship and capitalism has to adjust to is once you get old and you're tired and you want to be on a yacht instead of working your you should lose some money because you're losing. The number one thing you need to do is deploy self-awareness about yourself and how you want to communicate and what you want to communicate. The reality of trying to be successful is super fascinating. Everybody has the ambition or thought process of living a 1% life, but the far majority have no interest in putting in the work ethic of the 1% that is required for that life. And that's fine. You know, another thing that's a complete contradiction is how many people I know that are far happier when their business, the amount of people, and I've really looked at a lot of businesses at this point, you know, hundreds of thousands probably over the last 20 years because of my investing career. There's so many people that have a business that makes them $200,000 a year. They want to grow, and then when it goes to $280,000, they went from extremely happy to miserable on that small of a delta. You know, please, in a success world, please understand that success is happiness, not net dollars in. I literally replied to, I have a ridiculously funny post on Instagram right now, right? Like my last post about me garage sailing, and a lot of the comments were like, literally things like, I don't get it. Why is somebody who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars going out there and buying things for $1 and selling it for 15 bucks? And I literally am in there, like on the road here, like replying to some of you when I'm gonna be on stage and replying in Instagram to kids that are asking me that. I'm replying, happiness. I, Gary, as a human, get dramatically happier when I go to a garage sale and buy something worth 20 bucks for $1 and get the high of discovering it and knowing that I'm gonna pay $1 and sell it for 20 than I do when I land a $7 million deal for VaynerMedia. And by the way, there's no comparison. That's just who I am. I think the biggest vulnerability you've got is you actually value somebody's opinion more than you value your own. Like the reason I've been able to always do my thing is when I was 24 and people were like, oh, you work at your dad's liquor store? Like, I heard that as like a chip on my shoulder, you know? I loved it. I was like, cool, keep sleeping on me, you know? Like, I'm glad you're on Wall Street making 100,000 buying BMWs and dumb jewelry. I'll see you in 30 years. You understand? Like, to me, the way you win is you realize you can't hear nobody, not your parents. I mean, listen, you gotta listen to coach and all that shit. I get it, but at the end of the day, my guy, yourself, you gotta get real quiet up here. I can't hear anything. You go look at my Instagram right now, my first post, I'll post something, first 100 replies in 1 second, you're Jesus, you walk on water, you're the best, you're the all-time, can't hear them. The next 100, you're a piece of shit, you're full of shit, you're a snake oil salesman, can't hear them. I'm in my own mind, doing my own thing, and that comes with self-esteem. Everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses. I'm not worried about you being on in the Hamptons on a blow-up Swan. I'm not worried about you renting out cash from the bank and putting it to your ear. I'm not worried you jumped a fence and took a photo in front of a private plane. What do you think these people are doing? They're posing. Patience, long game. You know what's amazing about being an entrepreneur? We get to play forever, right? I'm gonna be working when I'm 96, trying to find my next hustle. I was at the top of the wine game and I left because I won and I didn't want to do it anymore. And went into marketing where everyone, like the first article written about me was like, this guy had wine Twitter, I think the article in the big advertising magazine was Twitter boy is what they call me. Twitter boy thinks he's gonna come and win Madison Avenue. Ha 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 ha. They're not laughing anymore, you know? And even this game now, I can already feel it. I'm like, oh man, 3, 4, 5 years from now, this thing's a wrap. I'm gonna be the guy, so I'm gonna have to start selling oranges or something. You know, I gotta figure, you know, I'm gonna have to figure something out because I lose, like I'm about to climb. Back to sports, I grew up a diehard Yankees, Jets, Rangers, Knicks fan. The Yankees and Rangers won their championships, I literally stopped watching them. Knicks and Jets are gonna take me a minute, you know, but like I'm just about the, I just love the climb. Like, even like back to sports, because I think it's a great analogy, I'll turn on a random game, I need to know who the underdog is, that's my team. I'm just about to climb, you know? Like to me, when I see a kid wearing a Steph Curry jersey and that kid lives in New York, I think that kid's soft. I mean it. He's using somebody else's success to make himself feel good. I think the biggest tell of a losing person is wearing a jersey outside your own city. Nothing is more exciting than selling something you believe in.
Yeah,
the second you get paid $1 million under the table to even sell the glue, that's when you're f***ed. But if you're actually selling something you actually believe in, you'll win. My biggest problem with people is they sell something they don't believe in. It's the thing that they've stumbled into, it's the thing that they just think they'll make the most money on. That's the thing that makes them most vulnerable super long term. If you love it and you believe in it, there's a lot of things I could be selling that would make me a lot more money, you know?
Sure.
I love when I do like I do things I want to be doing. Like I love showing people how to, that have 20 bucks, how to like start living their life with more money. That's why I do trash talk. There's literally people that leave comments like, Gary Vee, this is not gonna help you buy the jets. No shit. I understand that 8 hours of my time is not making $309 is not necessarily the mathematical equation to get to the jets. But is it? Because if I help 40 million people live a much better life, if I'm $200 million short, when the time comes, can I crowdfund the last part? I think so. Outside of spending time with my inner family and closest friends, and outside of garage selling and watching the Jets, there's nothing I'd rather do than work a 15-hour day.
You're self-aware, you know you.
And I always have. This is why I shoveled snow and did lemonade, and I washed cars as a 7-year-old all day long on August 9th, because it's what I like. And I'm not gonna judge somebody who wants to work 9 to 5, be on 13 softball teams and play video games all day and make $42K a year. If she and he are pumped as f, they're equal to me, because I know a bunch of miserable billionaires and I know a lot of happy 55K a years and everything in between.
So you talk patience too, right? That people should be patient in the pursuit of their goals. At what point does patience just become delusion?
A lot of times.
Oh, so what are the hacks or the tips that for them to be self-aware to know when to just, when is patience just run its course?
If you've been doing the same thing for 7 years and nothing good has happened, you're delusional. Let's start there. That's a test. I believe in that. If there's been no progress in your rap career or in your art or your video blog, and you've been doing it every day for 7 years, as hard as you can, and nothing has happened, the market has spoken. That's one way. Now, is that 4 years? Is that 2 years? Do people jump off? Like, you need to see some level of progress to keep you having blood in the water to get you going. But sometimes there is a breakthrough, because if the machine is in between you and the market, well, then you got to be discovered. But the reason now I think it's more pure is because SoundCloud and Spotify and YouTube and Shopify and Amazon, now you get the feedback loop so fast, and it isn't the arbitrary subjective call. The reason it took some of the greatest stars of all time 11 years to break through is because other people had say. People didn't see Gaga's talent. They thought she was weird. Somebody thought she wasn't weird. She breaks out. Like Lady Gaga today, she goes on YouTube and Spotify Direct, and the market speaks quicker. People are more famous quicker now if they have the talent because nobody's in the middle. This is why I talk in general terms on content, of course, because I don't have the context. But if somebody sat here and I listened for 40 minutes, I would tell them if they're delusional or just impatient. And most people are impatient and delusional.
If you want to learn how to market on social media like Gary Vee, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.